West Denver. Sleep deprived and heavily caffeinated.
All right, let's do this then.
This is the Jeff and Bill Show.
I don't agree with that.
They don't always agree, but hey, at least they have coffee.
Coffee.
And each other.
I love you, man.
God help us.
I want to bless him. We need all the help we can get.
Now here's Jeff Hunt and Bill Thorpe. The Jeff and Bill Show on News Talk 710 KNUS.
It's 8 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Friday, August 1st, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned in to the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Coming up here in a few minutes, we're going to talk with Bobby Daniel about these unfunded mandates, these rules that the state legislature is forcing upon counties all throughout Colorado. It's driving up compliance costs. It's driving up your taxes. State doesn't have to pay for it, but they're forcing your community to do it, even if it doesn't really matter. She's got a great piece in the Rocky Mountain Voice, The State's Mandates, Your Money, and Why Counties Are Saying Enough. Bobby Daniel's going to join us after News and Comment with Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, News and Comment.
Hey, good morning. TGIF, 60 and sunny outside, expecting a high of 86 today. This portion of the news sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234 to learn more about special savings opportunities on Lennox equipment. Our top story, U.S. citizenship test, about to get a MAGA makeover. It's going to be more difficult to pass. And Colorado's Joe Neguse and other Democrats suing the DJT administration. What is new? The lawsuit alleges illegal obstruction of lawmakers' access to ICE detention centers. Lefty Jason Crow says he was denied access into the Aurora Detention Center last week.
So, Blake, here's going to be the issue on this, okay?
Mm-hmm.
The members of Congress are right via the letter of the law, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they can show up at any point. They're allowed to. If it's their staff, they have to have 24 hours notice. But, yes, according to law, those members of Congress can show up. Now, here's what I've noticed about Jason Crow, is he's showing up a lot. I mean, a lot.
Right.
Okay?
He really cares.
And he's showing up on Sundays, and he's going through detailed examinations of the ICE facilities on a weekly basis, to the point where he's measuring the temperature of the beans being served to these illegal aliens that have been captured by ICE. So, okay, all right, members of Congress, you want the right to be able to show up to do an investigation at any point. But this much? This many times on a regular basis? At what point does it become burdensome on ICE to fulfill all of these requests on a weekly basis by people like Jason Crow, who are not there to do oversight on human rights violations, but to overburden ICE, become a problem with ICE, sabotage the work that they're doing, all because you have a law that allows you to show up and do an investigation at any point without notification. So, I mean, you can see how it's being abused.
Absolutely.
And now they're going to sue ICE. It's not like Jason Crow hasn't been able to get access to these facilities.
No.
He's sending staff on a weekly basis. He's getting reports. Now he's going to sue ICE because he showed up on a Sunday with minimal staff. This is all about, from my perspective, this is all about interference. It's about burdening ICE. It's about creating problems for ICE because you disagree with what they're doing. That's what this is about.
Let them do their job.
Yes.
And, man, he really cares about his constituents, doesn't he?
Well, I just want to point out, and I think this is an important distinction. Jason Crow will manage on a weekly basis the temperature of the beans being served at an ICE detention facility in order to make sure that the quality of the food being served to illegal aliens that have been detained meets public health standards.
Oh, my
And at the same time, still, to this point,
Yeah.
I don't think has ever met with anybody that was being tortured by the Venezuelan gangs back last fall.
When's that going to happen?
So to me, it reveals his priorities.
Absolutely.
He cares a lot. Man, that guy's willing to
he
go to
does.
the mat. Use
Yes.
the resources of his office to make sure that the experience of illegal aliens in an ICE detention facility is above par and working for them.
It's amazing.
But with regards to his own constituents being tortured by Tren de Aragua, I don't have the time. I don't have the time for
I
you.
got to jump in here too as well, because there's a part of this perspective that I think the two of you are missing, and I think it's important. And I'm not trying to play politics here, but remember, Jeff and Blake, that Jason Crow's attentiveness to the ICE facilities, again, regardless of your politics, seems to depend on one important thing: who's in the White House. Now, again, if you support
Exactly
Jason or not, I think that this has to put into the conversation that when Donald Trump has been in office, he's been super concerned about the facilities because we've seen a large number of visits, yet we don't see that same pattern under the Biden administration. Again, do what you
Great
want
point.
based on politics, but I think it's
that
a
is.
fair point
Because
to
nobody
make.
was in there during the Biden
Yeah, well,
administration.
I like that. Next one. But I think that's a fair point when we talk about his attention and he's worried about the temperature, the beans, and
Yes.
everything else. Understand that this does seem, from my point of view, it seems to be conditional on which party is responsible for telling ICE what to do. I hesitate to say that he's actually concerned at all about the people in the facility. I think this looks more to me like politics. That's just how it looks from where I
point.
sit. But yeah, I just want to make sure we had that in the conversation.
Great
Thanks,
point.
guys.
I agree with you. And hits the nail on the head. Billy comes in, just crushes it. A $50 million AI-driven recycling facility is set to open in Commerce City by the end of 2026. Barrett Jensen with Waste Connections of Colorado, the group building the site, says it's going to change the future of recycling.
If you go to the traditional, the old way, 60 or 70% of that is actually getting pulled out and recycled. And we're going to, this facility, we're going to do about 90% efficiency of pulling out the right material.
Waste Connections of Colorado will be using optical sorters and robotic systems from Louisville-based AMP Robotics to sort up to 60,000 tons of recyclables each year. The system promises to recover about 90% of the materials with greater speed and safety than traditional methods, which rely heavily on manual labor. The facility will still employ around 15 people for operations and maintenance, but most sorting will be done by machines. AMP calls the 70,000 square foot site its largest project to date. Denver Mayor Johnston believes they're close to a deal with the Broncos on a new stadium, angling for the stadium to be funded by the organization. Great idea. The Burnham Yard property in La Alma and Lincoln Park neighborhood has been mentioned as a possible location, as well as the city of Lone Tree. The Broncos' current lease at Empower Field at Mile High runs through 2031. Sleepy, creepy, corrupt Joe got the ball rolling and started firing the first cheap shots at DJT about the fake Russia hoax. Back in 2016, Intelligence Director Tulsi Gabbard exposing the commie frauds.
President Trump is enacting the very thing he promised the American people he would do in this election. So people in the intelligence community, they may agree, they may disagree. That's not the point here. As intelligence professionals, as people who work in the national security space, in the intelligence community, they are required to fulfill their mandate to their oath to the Constitution of the United States. and to the President of the United States, who was duly elected by the American people.
Yes, led by criminal minds like Hillary Clinton and Barry. All these lies, they just continued it. And it still continues today. Over 60% of Democrats actually still believe this junk. 47 knew it back in 2016.
It's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Because you'd be in jail.
Secretary Clinton.
I can't get enough of that. One of the greatest comebacks of all time. Greatest. DJT has signed an executive. Yes.
Blake, Shane Gillis was on Saturday Night Live, and he had a great line where he just goes.
I did see that. I saw some of it.
I'm sad because Donald Trump's never going to debate again. And he points out even the Democrats are going to miss that. Come on.
It's so true,
You're
man.
never going to have a debate ever
No
in your
way.
life again like what you saw with Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. We used to host big parties, like big debate parties. And I did those with Barack Obama and Mitt Romney and all that stuff. But it was at a whole nother level with Donald Trump. Here you had a guy with 30 years of television experience, his own show. It was like the top show on NBC at the time. The guy understood television and then would walk into these debates. And he had that New York style, those zingers. You know, no Republican could handle it. No Democrat could handle it. And Shane's exactly right. Whether you're Republican or Democrat, you're going to miss those debates because they were entertaining.
He's really good, by the way. I like
when
him.
he responds to Joe Biden's mumbling, and he's like, I don't even think he understands what you just said.
That's awesome. No, and the thing about Trump is he doesn't care.
Yes.
And almost 99.9% of them care so much, and he just doesn't care. And that's the key. And you're right that it will be a shock. I mean, that'll be a shocker if we ever see that again in our lifetime in the debates. Senate Republicans rejecting an attempt by Democrats to block 47 from using the luxury jet that was given to the U.S. by Qatar. The Senate committee voted against an amendment that would block funds used for the transfer of a presidential transport aircraft that has been under foreign registry to a non-governmental entity. Government talk. Today is the final day of hearings on the deadly mid-air collision that happened earlier this year in D.C. Air traffic controllers told federal investigators they struggled with the constant stream of planes. 67 people, of course, died in that January collision. The NFL has returned. Hall of Fame game last night. Preseason had the Chargers and the Lions. And back to pass. Picked off. And I play that because Miles Purchase, former Cherry Creek Bruin, Iowa State, undrafted rookie trying to make the team. Hopefully he can make it. Just an outstanding athlete, all-round athlete. He can do it all. So good luck to him. Broncos continue training camp today, and tomorrow they will take Sunday off. Baseball, Pittsburgh in town to take on the Rockies tonight. 57 in Littleton, 58 in Brighton, 60 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue on Friday. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
It's a different day, but the weather forecast is about the same. Highs will be around the lower 80s, partly cloudy with another round of afternoon and evening showers and thunderstorms likely, some producing heavy rain, lows tonight upper 50s. Bit warmer, middle to upper 80s Friday, scattered afternoon and evening thunderstorms, upper 80s and lower 90s for the weekend with isolated afternoon thunderstorms. Weather is a service of L&L Heating and Air Conditioning. For quick, trustworthy, and dependable service, call L&L Heating and Air Conditioning at 720-851-1691. Visit them online at bestdenverhvac.com. You'll be comfortable with L&L. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
So imagine walking into a restaurant before you even look at the menu, someone else orders for the whole table. They choose the most expensive items, add dessert, and go for the top shelf drinks, and when the check comes, they quietly slide it over to you.
Sounds like my kids.
In a nutshell. What's that, Bill?
Sounds like my kids. What's the most expensive thing on the menu? Can I have 7 drinks, each one different, no free refills? Those are for suckers. Yeah, it's my kids.
Well, that in a nutshell is what the state of Colorado is doing to counties. Bobby Daniel writes in Rocky Mountain Voice, every year, new laws and regulations roll out of the Capitol with noble names and lofty goals, but when it comes time to pay for them, well, the state shrugs and walks away, leaving counties and local taxpayers to foot the bill. It's called an unfunded mandate. It's become one of the biggest threats to responsible government in Colorado. Here's just an example. In Mesa County, they've always believed in balancing books and protecting the taxpayers. They've rebuilt reserves, cut waste, returned tens of millions of dollars back to the people under Tabor. But just last year, they lowered their mill levy when property taxes soared because when families are tightening their belts, government should as well. But even the most fiscally disciplined county can't keep up with a moving target. And that's what state mandates have become. A growing list of one-size-fits-all requirements handed down without funding, flexibility, or regard for local realities. Take Rule 31, the state's new landfill methane rule. Mesa County already complies with rigorous federal standards. Yet under this new mandate, Mesa County is going to be required to spend $9 million up front and another $1 million annually to fix it. The problem, though, is that it's already been solved. They call that wasteful. The state calls it compliance. I agree with Mesa County. To give us some insight on this is Mesa County Commissioner Bobby Daniel. Good morning, Bobby. Thanks for joining the Jeff and Bill Show.
Good morning.
Good morning, guys. Thanks for having me.
All right. Great piece in the Rocky Mountain Voice. Tell us about some of these other unfunded mandates that the state is sending and, more importantly, the problems it's creating for your constituents.
Yes, well, thanks for having me, guys. This is a huge problem with counties and local governments in general. You know, I'm a county commissioner, so I'm really focused on our work in county government. But my work isn't even reflective of what's happening all across the state with cities. So cities are also burdened by this, and we've been able to calculate a rough estimate of how this has hit counties, and we're up to 361 million based just on population. And this is a huge, huge threat. And so I can only imagine what that is doing for cities as well. So it's hitting both counties, it's hitting both cities. These regulations are vast. These laws that are coming out of the legislative session every single year are ridiculous. They're vast in scope and in size. And these fiscal notes that they're putting on there on these bills are not really reflective of the true cost to local governments. And so we're just demanding, you know, you fund it or you fix the bill, you fix the action, you fund it or you fix it in the state legislative body, and or we're not going to comply. And that's really what it comes down to. We don't have this flexible funding. We have to balance our budgets every year. That's based on the Constitution. So money doesn't grow on trees. We're tired of being a doormat. We can't afford it. It's not sustainable, and we're just not going to do it anymore.
We're not going to take it, is what I'm hearing. You write about new building codes, data reporting systems, cybersecurity upgrades, energy benchmarking, wildfire zoning mandates, all of them coming with their own price tags. Counties are expected to pick up the tab with staff, time, and funding that you simply don't have. And you make a great point that with all of these new requirements, well, that money, it's not going towards plowing roads, paving roads, protecting public safety. It's money siphoned away from the services residents rely on, all because someone in Denver had a nice idea, but no plan to pay for it. Now, we bring this up a lot, Bobby Daniel, Mesa County Commissioner, that the state legislature is passing something like 500 laws a year. 500 laws a year. We're a state that's been around for almost 150 years now. So at what point, what are they possibly passing that's so important that we haven't passed the previous 149 years? So you're getting a lot of these special interest bills being passed, and that's being forced upon you all. Talk about how it's squeezing the county, this frustration you're dealing with trying to comply with all these new rules with limited staff, a limited tax base, and really priorities that you see should be going elsewhere that really help the people. But as you point out, someone in Denver thought you guys should focus your time on. Talk to us about the pressure facing your leadership of the county.
Yeah, a big part of just being a county commissioner is managing budgets, and these budgets don't happen overnight. We spend a whole year planning out a budget. This is very detailed. We work with our department heads. We look at fiscal forecasts. We look at everything that we can to build these budgets that are sturdy, that respect taxpayers' dollars, and make sure that they're going as far as they can. And when somebody in Denver has this wild idea and dreams up something, they just pass it in a short legislative session. Well, sometimes it feels like it goes on forever, but in a session, these bills are vast and crazy, and it's so much, the volume of them is so hard to keep track of. And it happens every year, and that really goes against all of our planning and time, and it's so consuming to sit there and watch Denver spend your money, and you have little say. And we do engage so much in that legislative session, but when they are not being accurate with the fiscal dollars for local government, that is really an injustice, and it's got to stop. They'll calculate what it costs for the state, but they don't always calculate what it's going to cost for local government. And so we're just basically just saying, we're not going to do it anymore. If you're not going to fund it, we cannot afford to keep going this route. It's just not sustainable. And I think really counties have to band together to make sure that we're making a huge impact, because this is not sustainable. Budgets don't work like this. You can't just go in the backyard and pick some money off of a tree. That's just not how it works in the real world. And a lot of our counties are Tabor limited. We're Tabor limited. And so when you're spending tax dollars outside of the scope of the voter approval, this kind of unfunded mandate really flies in the face of that spirit of Tabor and that taxpayer bill of rights, where taxpayers have a consent and they have a say in where their money goes. And this just really flies in the face of that. We don't want to do this anymore with the state. We want fiscal notes to be accurate, but we can't keep going on this trajectory.
That's Bobby Daniels. She's a Mesa County Commissioner. Bobby, is there anything you can do? I mean, I imagine you could sue. We've seen Douglas County sue the state over the laws regarding ICE enforcement and collaboration with local law enforcement. But can you just not abide by a state mandate? Can you just ignore it?
That's a great question. Actually, the law's on our side. The Colorado statute does say if the state government isn't going to fund it, then you don't have to comply. And that was our letter to the governor, and the House and Senate leadership is basically saying, we're not going to comply with these mandates. So sit here. If you're not going to fund them, we don't have to comply. And that was our pushback. That's us saying, we're not doing this anymore. You've got to get your act together. And we're also suing where we can. And so with Rule 31, specifically with the methane rules, I mean, leave it to government to try and solve a problem we've already solved. We're already complying with really strict federal standards in this area. But our landfill budget is an enterprise zone. It's outside of Tabor. It operates as a functional business. And so it's not getting major subsidies from taxpayer dollars. So this is a business in a landfill that their entire budget is $9 million. If we were to comply with the state's unfunded mandate of this Rule 31, that would wipe out their entire budget within a year. And so these mandates that these agencies are creating, that Denver bureaucracy and lawmakers are creating, really they have good intentions, but that would completely wipe out a landfill service for our residents. And that's not fair. So we're definitely taking a stand in the courts. We're taking a stand in not doing the things that they're not going to fund, and we're hoping that other counties are going to join us. We have a lot of good traction. Really, when like a Boulder County Commissioner is saying, "Hey, this isn't fair either," and Mesa County is saying this isn't fair, you're onto something.
That's Bobby Daniel, Mesa County Commissioner, joining Jeff and Bill live. We're talking about unfunded mandates, those programs that most of the liberals down underneath the Golden Dome have set up and then told counties across Colorado that they have to comport to, but they haven't given them the dollars in order to implement the changes they want. Now, Bobby Daniel, Mesa County Commissioner, is the fact they're unfunded possibly the point? What I mean by this is, could the Democrats in the state legislature, because they have so much power, understand that the new rules and regulations they set up, if they're not funded, any county across Colorado is free to ignore them? But they still get to go back to their constituents and trumpet a new rule or regulation. Could this be a situation where someone that might be running in a suburb of Denver is trumpeting all the great environmental regulations they have forced on the rest of the southern part of Colorado, knowing that none of those counties really have to follow these rules because it was unfunded? Could this just really be about making a stance, saying we go back in politics and I go back to my constituents and say, look at the good stuff that I've done, regardless of the outcome?
Well, I think you're onto something. I think that's kind of how the state is functioning right now. I mean, if you look at their $1.2 billion deficit walking into this year, and now again they're facing this massive deficit, it ends up being a lot of virtue signaling where you can't fund it. And unfunded mandates for counties and cities is just part of that conversation. We need to get real here in Colorado. We need to get back to the basics. And we need to have some functional budgets that are very accurate and really are serving the purpose that they're supposed to.
Bobby Daniel, Mesa County Commissioner. Now, Bobby, you said you wrote a letter to the state saying, look, you guys don't fund it. We don't have to obey it. Did you get a response from Jared Polis, Democrat leaders in the House and Senate, that said, well, you're right? Or where they go, wow, figure it out anyways?
We have not received any official communication back, but we are looking forward to it. And I'm sure as other counties are joining us and sending their own letters, we'll definitely get some forward traction. So we're looking forward to those conversations.
In your article, you do call for other counties to work with you all on this issue. What other counties are you hearing from? What's been their response from some of your other colleagues in other counties?
Yeah, well, this is a huge turning point for us in counties, and we all have a fiscal budget that we have to work with, and it doesn't matter if you're a Democrat county or a Republican county. The reality is you have to balance your budget. And so these huge fiscal costs, I mean, it's costing Mesa County alone $10 million annually. We started tracking this 2 years ago. So these conversations I'm having with county commissioners all the state are not new. We're all super frustrated. So I really do think that we're onto something. We just can't keep continuing in this way, and I'm pretty confident that we're going to have a lot of letters to the governor and the state legislature just saying we can't maintain this. And I think it's going to be coming from both sides of the aisle. County commissioners, believe it or not, are just really wanting to have that back to the basics function of government for a large part. You're not getting these huge swings like you do in the Capitol. So we're excited to just be a voice of reason. County commissioners, we get it. We get budgets. We get the constraints. We're really the boots on the ground in delivering services that residents expect. And so I am very confident. We've been communicating with all 64 counties and giving them all the resources that they may need, and just being a source of common sense, I think, for folks, and saying the part that they're thinking out loud. And I think that's powerful, and I'm really excited to see where this conversation goes.
That's Bobby Daniel. She's a Mesa County Commissioner. Bobby, last question. You're a commissioner in Mesa County. That's the western slope, best slope. So give us an update. What are you hearing from your constituents? What are some of the top issues our friends on the western slope are facing right now?
Well, fires are a big one, which, public land management is interesting, coming from the state of Colorado and how they are choosing to work with some of our agencies, and we're dealing with some of those things. Wolves are a huge one, and of course the news that $3 million of public tax dollars are going to encourage folks not to eat beef in Denver just hits differently over here on the western slope. So those are kind of the rural issues that we're facing. Transportation's always a huge one, like fix our roads. Again, get back to basics. We really feel it when the state leadership is not doing what they should be, and it's tough to see it over here on the western slope. And again, it does hit differently over here, and we're just trying to do the best that we can and make sure we can, use small government principles and use what we have. Mesa County, we're working with the commissioners around the state, and in Colorado, the counties are the only conservative majority that we have in Colorado. That's it. That's all we have. And so we're really trying to use what we have to push back against big government.
Well, and on that point, Stephen texting in saying it's great to see these Colorado counties standing up. Outstanding, Mesa County. Thank you for doing that. Bobby Daniel, she's a county commissioner out in Mesa County. You can learn more about her by going to bobbydaniel.com, BOBBIE Daniel.com. Bobby, thank you for your great work in Rocky Mountain Voice, and thank you for taking time to join the Jeff and Bill Show this morning.
Yes, thank you so much.
All right, let's talk Dan Caplis. I've known Dan for well over a decade. Love this guy. Pro-life, pro-family, pro-faith, pro-America. That matters because who you choose as a lawyer to represent you in an injury case says a lot about you to everybody involved in the case. Dan Caplis is the son of a police officer and a former seminarian who's dedicated the last 40 years of his life to helping people who are hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. Dan's got a sterling reputation in Colorado because he delivers justice. Listen to these courtroom statistics. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado state history. Dan Caplis Law is so trusted, he's the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Caplis Law, a serious firm for serious cases. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. So if you need Dan's help, give him a call. Here's the phone number, 303-770-5551, 303-770-5551, or hit dancaplisLaw.com. That's Dan, C-A-P-L-I-S Law.com. Now, Bill, question to you with regards to Bobby Daniel and her article.
Yeah.
Can you see any scenario where the state would go, here's a mandate, we're not going to fund it, and the counties should be required to do so?
That the counties would have to pony up the cash?
Yeah.
Huh. I don't know.
Because I'm trying to think, obviously counties cover roads and they cover the basic services, fire, police, all that stuff. And they don't seem to have a problem there. But then you get these kind of special interest deliveries that come from the state capital. And then the county's going, well, if you don't fund it, we don't have to do it. And I'm trying to imagine a scenario where that would be a problem.
Well, I guess the thing that I would look at would be, and again, as you know me, I'm always looking for that exception to the rule because in my mind, the exception proves the rule. You wouldn't have to have the rule if there weren't exceptions to it. So if it's universal all the time, you don't need the rule because it's universal all the time. Where I would look at it and think there could be some things would be, as you talked about, things like roads, bridges. If you're looking at standards there, if the legislature said you need to fund, or you need to make sure that your roads pass this type of inspection, your bridges passes this inspection on this timeline, on this annual basis. There I can see the idea that, yes, that is that would be reasonable for you to have to, as the county, meet those type of services. Right. The other one might be some educational things based on busing and school days, things like that. Stuff that you already have allocated, if they put some regulations and rules about here's things you have to meet. But where I see the problem is where Bobby Daniels talks about is the idea that you come in with a new set of rules and regulations that will cost money to implement and get up to code. That's a problem. If it's new spend of money rather than just a reallocation of existing dollars, because, for example, of the new rules would eat up the entire budget. That's not okay. That simply is not okay. So I think there could be places for it. However, I also would submit that if the legislature is going to put forth a mandate but not the dollars behind to fund it, they're not serious about the mandate.
Yeah.
And the idea being this is, here would be a great example. Mayor Mike Johnston coming out, I don't know, a couple of years ago and saying, we have got a plan and we are going to make sure that these homeless people are going to get transitioned into housing and everything else, and we're not spending any money doing it. Well, hang on. Same thing with the immigration. We've got illegal immigrants here, and we are not going to spend any money, but they're going to do this and this. You go, hang on. When we saw with Mayor Mike Johnston, when there was something that in his heart of hearts he thought the city needed to be doing, spend millions of dollars. He found the money.
Found the money.
Yes. So when the legislature, in my mind, sets up an unfunded mandate, that's why I asked the question of Bobby. To me, it's telling me the legislature is doing this as a performative nature to say we passed it, and then it's everybody else's problem that it didn't actually happen. Because if you wanted to do it, you put the money behind it.
I think that is a great point. Joan from Lakewood texting in on the Dan Caplis Law text line. By the way, the number is 720-819-5115. Jefferson County will never stand against the state unfunded mandates because Jefferson County is where state legislators go to retire.
Yeah, and there is some of that.
Not wrong about that one. Yeah, well, join the conversation. We'd love to hear from you. Phone lines are open. Give us a call at 303-696-1971 or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. Is this where conservatives can push back against all the progressive legislation being passed? Counties just going, look, you don't fund it, we don't have to abide by it. Or do counties need to get in line? State legislature has the constitutional power to pass these laws, and therefore they need to abide, even if it means cuts to other services or raising taxes on their own constituents. Would love to hear from you. Again, the phone line's 303-696-1971 or text us at 720-819-5115. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Wrapping up a great conversation with Bobby Daniel, Mesa County Commissioner, on these unfunded mandates. Good text message from 1935 coming in. Unfunded mandates are really just about Tabor busting. I think they have a point there.
That's interesting, yeah.
You know, just continue to put pressure and pressure and pressure on the system to the point where the only way you can pay for it is to either debruce the county, which means that you get out from under the requirement that you return county taxes back to people that aren't spending, or you get rid of Tabor entirely, and then that allows you to pay for all these special services. So I think that's a really good point.
Yeah, I think that's very insightful. I think they got a point there. I do. I think there's an ulterior motive when they're doing these unfunded mandates, because it doesn't make any sense. You wouldn't walk through, your family budget, your company's budget, and participate this way. You wouldn't set up things this way to say, hey, we've got a brand new safety system, but we have no money to implement it. What? I mean, yeah. Not going to work out.
Sounds like a lot of corporate things.
Yeah, it does.
You have to deal with over your life.
Oh, yeah. We've talked about that
We need
before.
to increase sales by 50%.
Yes, we've talked about
new salespeople or new.
No, not at all. You're just going to have to do more. Yeah, we've talked about corporate math being, we are going to design a job that takes 12 people to do. We are going to hire 9 and pay them like 6. That's corporate math. That's exactly it.
Well, Bill, I ended up down this rabbit hole yesterday of the history and legacy of Thomas Kincaid.
Oh, wow.
Because this was interesting, to say the least. Remember Thomas Kincaid, the kind of kitsch Americana paintings?
It was art in the mall.
Super popular.
Yeah, you could buy it in the stores in the mall. That was
exactly.
the thing. Yeah.
In fact,
it was everywhere.
1 in 20 households in America at a certain point had Thomas Kincaid.
Okay, wait.
Mostly
big question here.
Grandmas.
Did you? Your family? Your household? Anybody in your household?
No Thomas Kincaid in our house. But,
yeah,
I mean, every Christian bookstore I knew had it. The Christian college I attended had them. I mean, they were everywhere.
Yeah, they were.
Thomas Kincaid paintings, right? There's kind of classic Americana. Well, the DHS, Department of Homeland Security, recently posted a graphic showcasing a classic Americana scene. Neighborhoods, church, school, children playing, American flag. And it was a painting by Thomas Kincaid titled Morning Pledge. And then they wrote, Protect the Homeland underneath it. Kind of the idea being, we are working at the Department of Homeland Security to protect everything you value in America. Safe streets, kids going to school, churches in the community, all that stuff, right? Kind of controversial. Maybe if you hate Trump, yeah, I could get it. I understand it, but generally not that controversial. You posted a picture by Thomas Kincaid, and then you wrote, Protect the Homeland. Protect what we love. Okay. Well, the Kincaid Family Foundation, not happy. They responded and asked the post to be removed. But not just because it was used without authorization, which I understand, right? Like, you're the artist, you have the right. Go on. We don't want our name being drug into politics. We have the right to say, no, please remove it. Please don't do this again. I understand that. But then they went a whole nother level, Bill. And this is what I found intriguing. Because Thomas Kincaid was known to be a conservative, was known to be a Christian, to love classic conservative Americana. His whole paintings were about that. His reputation, his life was about that. Did he live a perfect life? No, he had some problems with alcohol, stuff like that. But generally, that's what he believed. So the statement from the Kincaid Family Foundation was intriguing to me. They write this. On July 1st, the United States Department of Homeland Security posted a photo on their social media accounts accompanied by a Thomas Kincaid Studios painting. The use of his artwork was unauthorized, and we've requested that DHS remove the post, and we are consulting with our counsel on our options. But then they write this. At the Kincaid Family Foundation, we strongly condemn the sentiment expressed in the post and the deplorable actions that DHS continues to carry out. Like many of you, we are deeply troubled to see this image used to promote division and xenophobia associated with the ideals of DHS. Again, they condemn the division and xenophobia associated with the ideals of DHS, as this is antithetical to our mission. We stand firmly with our communities who have been threatened and targeted by DHS, especially our immigrant, BIPOC, undocumented, LGBTQ+, and disabled relatives and neighbors. The Kincaid Family Foundation. I mean, that drops right out of the Marxist woke handbook. My goodness. So I ended up doing some digging on the Family Foundation, and basically what I think is important for people to understand, we're up against a break here, is that, well, Thomas Kincaid, yes, conservative, Christian man, painted classical Americana. The Family Foundation, led by his wife that he separated from, by the way. This is interesting. And there's a whole big legal battle between the wife that he had left but not divorced and his new girlfriend over a $60 million estate. When you purchase now anything that's Thomas Kincaid, you're funding a pretty darn progressive family foundation. So
it's interesting that you read that statement and you felt that it was pulled directly out of the Marxist handbook.
Oh, yeah.
When I read the statement, and I've seen those sentiments being expressed by a number of Christian leaders in different forms. So it's interesting that we saw two different interpretations of the same statement. And
Bill, it is all about intersectionality, right? Immigrants, BIPOC, undocumented, LGBTQ, disabled. It's literally everybody in the Marxist handbook that's been oppressed in some capacity, and put oppressed in air quotes. What is that? What is DHS doing to disabled people?
But here's the thing, isn't the idea of what you do to the least of my brother is that you do unto me? Isn't that somewhat of the Christian idea and response? And isn't that some of what?
But what has DHS done to disabled people?
But again, that to me it seems like
I haven't heard anything.
But it seems to me to be an overarching statement, and I have seen support for those various communities expressed by different Christian leaders. So for me, it doesn't seem like it doesn't
disabled people.
But again,
this is in the context of DHS.
But you were saying that this seems Marxist. I don't see it Marxist, not unless you're talking about these religious leaders also being Marxists. And that would include the Pope.
Well, a lot of them are, actually.
But that would include the Pope of the Catholic Church, and I would totally disagree, because he's expressed those same issues based on disabled and based on immigration.
No, this isn't care for the least of these. This is intersectionality, where you combined everybody that's ever been quote-unquote oppressed and say we have to lump them all together against the oppressor, which in this case is DHS, and condemn them. This is right out of the Marxist playbook. But we're up against the break. We'd love to hear from you. Join the conversation. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We're talking Thomas Kincaid paintings. And are you supporting a woke foundation when you purchase them? I dug through the Family Foundation 990s. Not unlike other family foundations, it's used to employ some members of the family. They also set up a Thomas Kincaid museum, and they provide some art services and kind of nonprofit art programs to other people. But I just found it intriguing that what was considered to be the most popular painter among Christian conservative families in American history, the Family Foundation condemning DHS, Department of Homeland Security, lumping in the LGBTQ community. I don't know, what is DHS doing to LGBTQ? The disabled relatives and neighbors, BIPOC. The whole thing is kind of Marxist categories of people that have been quote-unquote oppressed by white men when the entire Family Foundation is built upon the work of a white man.
Yeah, but I think you're reading stuff into it there, because there you just loaded into white men and oppressed. And
right.
that's
every one of these categories is about
nothing
what
in the
white
statements,
men have done to oppress people.
Nothing in the statement says anything about white men. You've read that into there. I think no, it doesn't. Where in the statement does it say the white man has done this?
What does BIPOC mean?
I'm not sure. But again, the other thing is immigration.
BIPOC
and
is like people of color. Black, indigenous people of color. That's everybody but white people.
No,
so
it'd be indigenous people of color. We brought the other black people here. They were on the ships with us.
Yeah, but the whole thing is
so that would be American. That'd be Native American. No, that'd be Native American. They'd have to be indigenous.
But yeah, I just
They'd have to be
think
indigenous.
twice, friends, about buying a Thomas Kincaid painting.
Sounds Christian to me.
All right, we'll continue the debate as always. Jeff and Bill Show.
710 KNUS.